Gabrielle Calvocoressi is from LA. She's the author of an awesome book called Apocalyptic Swing from Persea Press. And she has had many honors, including a Stegner Fellowship, a Rona blah blah Jaffe Winnan blah 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 Fellowship. You know, she's fancy schmance. She is from... Tonight she'll be reading from new work that she's written since moving back to LA, poems that are vibrant, quizzical, and alive to the now. These poems are queer and sensual, baffled by the world and also in love with it, knowing and exuberant, full of celluloid and poolside sunshine, dry heat, and a little porn. Woo! I told you you were going to want to pay attention to me talking about Gabby's poems. Yeah, I did. Okay. Do princes go dancing? Gabby asks and answers, they do in the movies. And later at the Clit Club, the speaker of these poems is watching the girls fuck on screen, doing things I really hadn't done yet. So if these poems are brazen, they're also wide-eyed. I knew what I imagined, but really it was a mystery to me, she says. And in their wonder and their willingness to take life for a hard ride, these poems remind me of what we love about the Valley Girl, the best of the exuberant yeah quality of a life that's lived full throttle. Gabi is nothing if not full throttle. These are poems that are in love with sensual pleasure. They are poppy and they are joyous and dark. Welcome.
Yeah, I had to find a wine to pair with Gabby's stuff because it's that cool. You know, I think that just from reading her works, what she exemplifies is great California energy. She's bringing it out. We did really have a debate about this on the phone when we were doing one of our conference calls, Hollie and Tess and I, about like what it would be like if we were in a car and someone was reading that, one of her poems to us. Would we want to, when we're going really fast, would we want out of that car? Or would we want them to, or would we want them to lay on the gas a little bit more? I think we're going to go with a little bit more gas. I think we're going to go big. So I brought in a big wine with this. So this is the Stag's Leap Petite Syrah 2008 vintage. Napa Valley is the appellation. This is from one of the most famous vineyards for Petite Syrah. Petite Syrah is a crazy grape. A lot of people ask me, what is the difference between Syrah and Petite Syrah? I don't get it. Well, actually, Petite Syrah is kind of a hybrid. It's actually Syrah and another grape called Pelersan. So they were brought together by this crazy doctor in France. His name was Dr. Derif, and he had this great idea. I'm going to go to the northern part of the Rhone Valley and get some Syrah, and then I'm going to go to the lower part down by the Mediterranean Sea and get some of this Pelersan stuff. I'm going to blend them together, and then I'm going to try to sell them to both areas. Ooh, good idea. Total entrepreneur. Only problem was he didn't really do much research. Those areas hated each other, and they wanted him out of their town too. So the reason it came to California is it came after Zinfandel came here, more like the 1890s. But it became like a grape that we really adopted here, and really, it fits really California profile. But the reason we adopted it is because it's hardy, it's big, it's black fruit, it's dark chocolate, it's all these things all pent up inside one bottle. With that being said, it's become a trend now to get back into Petite Syrah. Back in the old days, I mean, it was the main potion that you'd throw into jug wines, to be really honest. And it really fell out of favor, and it was just really rediscovered over the past 20 years. And so this preservation of this great grape variety has really come back into full circle. There's a whole group that really backs this up. A lot of winemakers belong to this group. It's called P.S. I Love You. So without further ado, I think we should listen to Gabby's poems because I think you're going to love them.
Wow. That wine and I have a lot in common, it's true. Cast out of our rural home. We come to California. have sex in pools. I am so...
I have a really loud mouth. Can you hear me if I just don't use
hold
this?
it out here.
Really?
Hold it out here.
I don't know about this. Okay. All right. I want to thank just everyone so much for having me here tonight. Tess and Hollie and Christopher and just all of you. I ran off the plane. I did not know that I would get here. I'm thrilled to be here. And one thing I would like to say is it seems to me that one of the things about poems and wine, right, is they are both artisanal acts, making these things. And they have to do with having a kind of imagination and taking a kind of care, right, thinking about the craft of making art and a life. And I would just like to say that, all over this country tonight, and particularly in New York City, there are people sitting on the streets who are imagining the possibility of a different kind of world. I know, really. And tomorrow in New York City, at least when I got off the plane, Mayor Bloomberg has decided it's time to clean Zuccotti Park. Boom. And so people are going to be evicted. And so I think that there are great artisans in this world tonight who are taking great risks. And I'm glad to be among that harvest as well. And so I bless them, and they are blessing us. Every person in this town loves football. Even the nuns come out to watch the boys in their gold and blue. Sister Marita, Sister Anne, and some weeks, Sister Perpetua, who still uses the ruler on our outstretched hands. Even the mills get quiet, and how the new freeway subsides for a while, so we almost remember the fields full of tobacco and feed corn, the older kids sent out to harvest alongside those men who'd come up from the south. It's hard on the hands, my babysitter told me, and showed the small cuts like netting placed over the palm. She'd calm me down when I woke, or I'd come downstairs to find her splayed on the couch, head thrown back, and Keith, our quarterback, working above her. Everybody loves that sound. All the breath sucked out of the town, and just as quickly it roars back in. His arm tensed and stuttering till he just lets go from the arm, from the start of the arc, and now over the heads of Beckett and Pulaski, over the girls in those short skirts, to the place where the blast furnace meets the darkness. Who's your daddy? If he lived in this town, he played the game too, and every girl held his name in her mouth. He wore dress shirts on game day with a tie and his jersey on top. He walked down the halls smelling of Old Spice and chew. Who could break a boy like that? Who could grind his smallest bones or show him the bars where men spill out of their worn leather jackets? Come Friday, we'll turn the lights on. You'll see us from everywhere. There's a lot of boxing and all sorts of things in this book. A lot of people get hit. A lot of people get up. People pray. This is called Prayer in the Name of St. Thomas Hearns. Prayer in the Name of St. Thomas Hearns. Oh, Tommy Hearns, oh, blood, come down. Come down on the jaw from the uppercut as the lights cut out on Park Street. The ghetto brothers run beneath the fire hydrant's arc. I love you, every inch. And ask that you forget forgiveness and find your way to Hungerford, where my father glowers over me. Show him how the bag does penance, how it hobbles back and forth, so rapt it speeds back to your cocked fist. It cannot get enough, sings, sorry, sorry, who cares? Amen. There are a lot of people. A lot of this book takes place during the summer of 1964. That's a kind of secret to this book. And there were a lot of people then, as there are now, who would call themselves good Christians. Well, they do really remarkably horrible things. I say this as a person who goes to services every Saturday. Jerusalem Baptist Church. I have seen the fire from the back door of my house. I have heard the women whisper, Jesus, oh, sweet Jesus. I have counted the cars coming from the darkness of the woods and have seen the mud splattered on the grill. I have watched men practice the backhand, the roundhouse, the lexicon of knots one needs to tie a hog. I have seen the hog tied over and over as the men laugh and let it go and call out to know the time it took. I've heard the men joke hogs are faster. I've watched them kick one for good measure. I've watched men wash their hands and put their gloves away. I've heard Hosanna in the street as the sky grew orange in the distance. Glassjaw sonnet. Glassjaw, chicken neck, bag of bones, heart sick. Knucklehead, bug-eyed, lily-livered chump. Sweet feet, heavy-handed, gutless, headstrong. Weak-kneed, barrel-chested, hairless, loose-lipped. Lion-hearted, red-neck. Hair of the dog, brainiac, bow-legged, slack-jawed punk, headstrong, sweet spot, gut shot, back away, meat hooks, lazy eye on the chin, stink eye, reed thin, face only a mother could love, back down, nerves of steel, limp wrist, square jaw, thin-skinned, soft skull, small of the back, heartstrings, limp wrist, green-eyed monster, cauliflower ear, knock-kneed, slim-waisted, eye of the tiger, in God's arms, thick neck, ass backward, harden my heart. Tess Taylor spoke about this, so brief essay. Do you remember if the Clit Club was on Friday or Saturday? They're New Yorkers here. I can't remember. I think Meet was on Friday and it was for the boys, and Clit Club was on Saturday for the girls. I guess I should say men and women, but I was so young then that I don't really think I thought about that sort of thing. And one did feel young out there in the darkness. I remember you could watch girl-on-girl porn downstairs, not the kind I found in my father's drawer when I was looking for the remote control, though I watched that too, but rough-cut, grainy dyke porn, which isn't so much for me anymore, but has its charm and certainly is something closer to real. Though I don't know if real was what I was looking for at the Clit Club. It all sort of felt like a movie, standing downstairs, watching the girls fuck on the screen, doing things I really hadn't done yet. Standing and watching and feeling my friend tap my shoulder and say she'd be back in a bit. The way the girl standing with her would sort of look at me for a second, and I'd feel a bit shy. Do you remember the Clit Club? There was a stage where butch girls would dance like go-go boys. I remember standing with my friends, watching this short-haired woman in her baseball cap, t-shirt, and boxers that were packed, and how the girls with long hair and short skirts would get on stage and get down on their knees. I watched her put her hand in the long hair and hold her gaze before the girls would bend their heads and pretend. I was still trying to figure it all out. what went on in small bathrooms when my friends went inside. I knew what I imagined happened, but really, it was a mystery to me. I came here from Los Angeles tonight, and I'm realizing that my partner's dissertation is written on the back of his book, which makes it really hard to read them. Sorry. I watched Jack Johnson's surf movie while my wife is in Hawaii. It's almost as good as being there. In fact, it's better because I can stay in bed all day with the blinds drawn and the television on, and all those friends on my wall can talk to me and I don't have to say a thing. It's almost as good as being there, being here, staring at the blue-green water, which is something like the color of the necklace my grandfather gave my grandmother for their wedding, and I got stolen because I wasn't paying attention when we got off the plane. I think a lot of my love in the world, with all those people and me lying beneath the white sheets, staring at the boys inside the waves, and then at naked girls on the other screen, I allow myself a couple times a day. I like to think of the people on the hill I can see from my house, the one next to the Hollywood sign. You can see the ocean from there. In the afternoon, the men hike with their shirts off and stare each other down. Sometimes I see two disappear into the brush, which is almost as good as being there. Having my sweatpantses down while I listen to the dogs bark and catch a glimpse of the water glistening all the way across the city. I imagine the little figures bobbing on the boards as my head rests back in the branches. I'm just going to read a couple more. I'm working on a third book right now, and it's called Rocket Fantastic, and it's actually a story. And all you need to know for now is there are 5 characters. It happens in the summer of 1968. There is a young girl who's 9, and she's writing. She lives in Pasadena with her father, who helps build rockets, and she is writing letters back and forth to her brother in Vietnam. He is consistently asking about their older sister, who he does not seem to be in touch with. She has left home in Pasadena with her friend Jasper Taylor. They've moved into the Hollywood Hills, where she has taken up a relationship with a band leader who has a band called Rocket Fantastic. Although if indeed there is a band is a real question she and Jasper have for one another. These will just go back and forth. From Rocket Fantastic. One day a girl wakes up so tired of Pasadena that each white house makes her cry as she drives herself to school. Her father says, "Buck up," or "Here, go buy yourself something nice." But really, how many dresses can one girl have? And anyway, there's a war outside somewhere to think of. One day a girl wakes up and the green of the trees seems like some story she's been told over and over. The boy with his buzz cut sneaking his hand up her shirt, then missing the point entirely once he gets there. Oh, the boredom. Oh, the boredom of the beautiful men you're meant to marry. Sam and Michael, Bob Jr. with his perfect white shirt and pressed chinos, who looked so surprised when you caught him in the pool house with Jasper kneeling before him. One day a girl wakes up and there's a war outside and $30 in her pocket, and Jasper calls on the powder blue phone and talks to her mother. That Jasper is such a nice boy. He says he'll meet her out front in the Alfa Romeo. Pasadena, it's a place a girl can't go back to, at least not if Jasper is driving the car. May 15th, 1968. In the evening, we're on point, and Tommy calls me little man and tells me to stay straight and not go off the path, but sometimes I can't find the path. And sometimes I want to wander into the green of the hedgerow and keep going, but Tommy says, "Little man, keep your shit together and stay straight, Pasadena." We go in deeper to the place where the radio starts to fade a bit, or maybe it's just the leaves getting thicker so I can't tell the rustle of the branches from the guys saying over, over. And Tommy says, stop humming or I'll kick your ass. But friendly, he's my friend, and he doesn't say it so much as whispers, like we used to in the tent after Dad told us all to go to bed. Remember? I remember Babe would hold our hands when we got scared at something we'd hear outside in the woods, and how we'd fall asleep like that, and be like that all night. Sometimes I'd wake up before the two of you, but I wouldn't let go. After Pasadena, meanwhile, by the pool, Jasper left to get ice cubes from the Italian designer 3 houses down because he said ours didn't have enough integrity. I was lying there listening to the Doors, who I didn't really understand, and the girl put on her clothes and went looking for the band, who may have been just one person who did something with car radios and timpanis. I was lying there with my hand in the water, and then you showed up in that von Furstenberg dress of yours with a bag of blood oranges in your hand. And I shaded my eyes and asked what time it was, because really I didn't know. And you said, ask the Lizard King. And now I think it's funny that I didn't get the reference.